Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're doing something really fun. We're looking at a real-world student entrepreneurship project to see exactly how foundational business principles are applied to hyper-local problems. We are analyzing a fascinating case study that proves without a doubt that you don't need a massive pile of venture capital or some revolutionary tech patent to build a successful venture. Sometimes you just need a good eye for what people need.
So, let's kick things off by asking ourselves a pretty simple question. How do you actually turn a sweltering, hot, humid day into cold, hard cash? Because that's the core premise of our explainer today. We're talking about solving an everyday physical pain point for profit. At its heart, entrepreneurship is all about transformation, right? It's about taking a common, shared annoyance and engineering a solution that people are literally eager to pay you for.
To figure out exactly how this microbusiness pulled it off, we're going to break this explainer down into 5 quick parts. First, the problem and solution. Second, strategic business frameworks. Third, benchmarking the competition. Fourth, team operations and logistics. And finally, my absolute favorite part, financials and break-even. Let's get into it.
Starting right off with Section 1, the problem and solution, or as I like to think of it, identifying the actual need. This is the initial spark that ignited the entire project.
I want you to picture the G3 foyer at University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Now, Malaysia experiences a tropical climate year-round, which means high temperatures and intensely heavy humidity. Imagine this completely open-air foyer acting as the main gathering hub for students, staff, and campus visitors. During peak academic hours, you've got these massive crowds creating a desperately uncomfortable environment. We're talking excessive sweating, profound fatigue, dehydration, and just totally drained concentration right before these students have to head into complex engineering lectures. That is a seriously tangible problem.
Enter the hero of our story. A group of 5 engineering students looked at that sweltering crowd and didn't just complain about the heat, they saw an opportunity. Their solution was a compact, lightweight, USB rechargeable portable mini fan. It's brilliant because it provides immediate, personalized relief without needing a wall outlet. And honestly, the best part? They priced it at just 15 ringgit, which is perfectly, and I mean perfectly tailored to a tight student budget.
Okay, so with our hero product identified, we move on to Section 2, strategic business frameworks. This is where we look at their battle plan for success.
Before spending a single dime, actually, scratch that, a single ringgit, the team utilized a classic, incredibly reliable framework to evaluate their footing, a SWOT analysis. They sat down and really looked at their internal strengths and weaknesses right alongside the external opportunities and threats that could impact their minifan business.
By laying it all out like this, the team had a moment of real clarity. They recognized that, hey, our physical location at that highly trafficked G3 foyer, that's a massive strength. But on the flip side, being outdoors made them incredibly vulnerable to bad weather. They also knew that just selling one single type of fan was a weakness, but that opened up an opportunity to eventually expand into complementary stuff like power banks. This kind of brutal self-awareness is absolutely crucial before you launch any venture.
Taking that self-awareness a step further, the team then built out a business model canvas. If the SWOT analysis tells you where you stand in the market, the business model canvas is the blueprint. It creates a comprehensive 360-degree overview of exactly how your operation creates, delivers, and actually captures value.
The beauty of this canvas is that it stopped them from just guessing. They didn't just throw fans on a table and hope for the best. They explicitly defined their customer segments, targeting university students and staff with direct face-to-face sales. But they smartly backed up those physical sales with digital marketing blasts on WhatsApp and Instagram. They also pinpointed their key partners, realizing pretty quickly that keeping the electronic suppliers and the UTHM administration happy was completely non-negotiable if they wanted to keep their booth running.
Now that the strategy is locked in, let's hit Section 3, benchmarking the competition. The team really needed to know who else was fighting for their customers' wallets. You might be wondering, why buy from a little booth when the internet exists, right? Well, this benchmarking data is the exact reason their specific business model works. They stacked themselves up against massive online marketplaces and the existing campus stores. Sure, an online marketplace might beat them by a few cents on price, but the G3 foyer booth absolutely dominates on delivery time. Think about it. When a student is actively dripping with sweat, they do not want to wait 1 to 7 business days for a package. They want relief right now. Plus, being there in person lets students physically test the fan before they hand over their 15 ringgit, which builds instant trust. But hey, strategy is just daydreaming without execution.
Which brings us to Section 4, Team Operations and Logistics. Let's see how they actually got this thing off the ground.
So, 5 students, 5 distinct roles. They kept the hierarchy totally flat because, in a microbusiness, excessive bureaucracy just kills your momentum. They assigned clear, accountable roles to everyone. A general manager keeping the ship steered right, a financial manager guarding the startup budget, an operational manager hauling the stock, a marketing manager handling the digital side, and a sales rep pitching directly to the sweaty crowds.
They boiled their daily grind down to a 6-step framework. It's highly repeatable. But I really want to highlight Step 2 here, quality inspection. They didn't skip this. They implemented a strict policy where every single batch of 50 wholesale units underwent a 100% manual check. They physically tested the charging port, clicked the buttons, and felt the wind speeds before a fan was ever allowed on the display table. That is how you protect your reputation and avoid dealing with a nightmare of angry returns.
To make sure they didn't ruin their own GPAs while running this, they completely optimized their hours. They strictly targeted the peak afternoon heat wave, operating just Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And remember that whole bad weather threat from the SWOT analysis earlier? Brilliantly solved. They kept heavy-duty waterproof storage bins on standby to instantly toss their inventory into if one of those unexpected, torrential Malaysian rainstorms blew through the open-air foyer.
All right, we have made it to Section 5, Financials and Break-Even. The moment of truth to see if all this hustle actually pays the bills.
I've got to hand it to their financial manager. They kept the initial startup budget incredibly lean. They sourced 50 units wholesale at just 10 ringgit a pop, spent a tiny amount on a physical bunting and some plastic bags, and left a 50 ringgit buffer for transportation. All in all, this entire operation got off the ground for exactly 600 ringgit. Honestly, that is a masterclass in keeping startup capital low risk.
And the revenue model? Beautifully simple. If they sell out their inventory, all 50 units at that targeted 15 ringgit price point, they're looking at a total gross revenue of 750 ringgit. Subtract the 600 ringgit it costs to start the project, and boom, that leaves the team with a clean, solid net profit of 150 ringgit for their efforts. But hold on, before they get to enjoy a single cent of that profit, they've got to survive their fixed costs. And this brings us to a vital financial metric for any business, the break-even point. To find this, you just take your total fixed costs, so for them, that's the 100 ringgit they spent on marketing, packaging, and their contingency fund, and divide it by the contribution margin of a single unit. They buy a fan for 10, sell it for 15, so their margin is 5 ringgit a fan. 100 divided by 5. Let's see what our magic number is. 20 units. Exactly 20. This means the team is essentially in a dead sprint from the moment they open to sell those first 20 mini fans. Those first 20 sales, that just pays for their right to exist as a business. But the very second fan number 21 crosses that counter, they're officially in the green, and every single sale after that is pure profit padding. We're going to wrap up our explainer today with a thought straight from the team's own report. They wrote, "An ordinary problem encountered daily can be turned into an actual business idea that works." And I think that just hits the nail on the head. This whole case study is proof that you absolutely do not need some $1 million Silicon Valley tech idea to be an entrepreneur. You just need to open your eyes and observe the world around you. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What simple daily annoyances are sitting right in front of you, just waiting to be turned into a profitable microbusiness tomorrow? Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.